Yes, Professor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, welcome, sir. I just want to few about Professor Ghazi Shahnawaz. He is the professor. He's with the discipline of psychology, positive psychology. He teaches psychology at the Department of Psychology, Jamia Millia Islamia. He has over 25 years of teaching and research experience. The thing what I have been really thinking on is about his triads of dealing with various dark personalities. That is where I was so much impressed about him while I was searching for his profile. So he has worked in the area of dark triads of personality in the organizational context. He has also explored modern technologies such as smartphones, social media, and how our life has been impacted by these. Currently, he is pursuing research in the area of COVID-19 and its varied manifestations in people's life. Moreover, at present, he is exploring the role played by social psychological factors in COVID-19 vaccine uptake. But moreover, what actually I got impressed with, sir, is all about his positiveness in psychology, about managing stress, about managing the characters. See, I was just reading out all his project, what he has submitted to ICSS. It was really impactful, sir, really impactful that I need to share to all the participants. If you have a while, you please see the profile of Professor in Jamia Millia Islamia website. You can see how much the sort of participation he has done and the project he has made, everything is meticulous. So much, the title itself speaks how sir has been really contributing on his research part. Thank you, sir. The floor is yours. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Would you like to before we start our journey, thank you very much, Fareen, for inviting me for this FDP program. I welcome you all because already it has been started in the morning. So I will not be wasting any time in that. So the area in which I'm supposed to speak about self-regulation, mindset, and how to be assertive while trying to communicate with others, right? So this is the areas with which I've been able to speak on, right? Fareen, would you help me with the presentation, or I'll be doing on my own?
So we have given the enabled your screen share. If you want us to, yeah, we have enabled it.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a moment here.
Yeah.
So is it visible to all of you, this presentation now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is visible. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Although we say that basically, so it is about our mindset, right? It's about self-regulating mindset, right? The idea seems very simple, right? So in its simplest form, it says that how much control we have our own life and our behavior. So in simplest way, when we say self-regulating mindset, it simply means that basically. Pardon? Yes, ma'am. Am I audible enough to all of you? Am I audible enough to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Please
sir.
carry on.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So as the title says that it has two parts largely, although they are interconnected with each other. So first we will be talking about self-regulating mindset, and then we will also speak about how to be a good communicator or being assertive while communicating with others, right? So when we say self-regulating mindset, it simply means two things, right? Simple things, right? So how much we have control over ourselves, right? How much we have control about ourselves, right? Right. So when we say, although it seems very simple, right, but it is a really very complex phenomena, especially in a country like in the Asian cultures, right, where our self is not autonomous, independent self, as we have in the Western part of the world. Our self is interdependent self, right? because we are sons and daughters, we are fathers and mothers, right? We are brothers and sisters, we are husbands and wives, right? We are friends, we are colleagues, right? So the idea of how much control we have our own self, it is slightly it is slightly overrated concept when we talk about India, right? Because the moment a baby is born, right? The moment a baby is born, right? Few hours ago he or she was born, right? So the moment we go to the hospital and check, so in that, even in that moment we would say that his or her eyes are similar to his father, her father, right? Lips are, face cut is of her of her of her uh, of her uncle, aunt, right? Things like that, right? So meaning by even for a small baby, right, who has just born on this earth, right? Even he or she is not her own self, right? Meaning by that, okay, he or she will have certain aspect of self which he or she is borrowing from his or her parents and siblings, whatever, right? And then the second part is basically, so to what extent we have control our own self. It is slightly complex, it is slightly overrated, right? And we will learn in the process basically how much we will have control over our own behavior and emotions, right? So and the and a more formal way to define is basically, so it is an individual's ability to self-regulate and to gain or regain a sense of control over one's behavior in life, right? So the same thing, right? It has been made slightly longer. So the idea is that basically how much we have control, not once, but at different points of time, right? Therefore, I have said it, gain or regain, right? How much control we have our own behavior, our own emotions, and to what extent we would be able to regulate our behavior and emotions, right? At any point of time, if you have any problem, please ask me. Please ask me to stop, and we can talk and discuss, right? Because I've been told that all of your school teachers and the college teachers, right? So we all are on the equal platform, right? So it is only a matter of time that um, I'm trying to communicate with you, right? Instead, so we all are in this business of communicating with our colleagues, with our students, right? With uh, with everybody, right? So I don't have any power over anybody. So I'm just like you. So if, at any point in time, if any problem, please ask me and feel free to ask questions, right? So don't wait to uh, to 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 finish the presentation. At any point in time, please ask. And if you have any doubt, please ask me, and I will try to resolve your queries. Okay. So basically, when we say self-regulation, largely it will be of two kinds, right? One is about behavior and one is about emotion, right? How much we control our own behavior, right? So it says that it is the ability to act. So we have to understand some words over here, right? So it is the ability to act in your long-term best interest, right? And it is in sync, or it is consistent with our values. There are two things, right? How much we are able to behave, how much we are able to control our behavior, which is in the long-term interest of ours, right? And which is also in sync with our values, right? So some of the behavior, whatever we do, will not have long-term implication. We will only have short-term implication, right? Smoking, for that matter, right? Its implication will not be seen in a day or in a week, right? Its impact will be seen after some years, right? So meaning by, so the idea is basically to what extent we control our own behavior, which is helpful to us in the long run, which is going to help us in the long run, and which is always, which is in sync, which is in relation to our values, right? Value is something which we aspire to achieve, right? Value is something, right? So we all aspire to achieve something, right? Some of us wanted to become a dancer, some of us wanted to become a musician, some of us wanted to become a good parents, good husband, good wife, right? So to what extent, whatever behavior we are doing, is it in sync? Is it related to the values which we cherished in our lifetime, right? Many of us might have become teacher as that is the only thing which we wanted to do in our life. Many of us who would have become teacher because we could not get something else, therefore we have become a teacher, right? So then we can say that if being a teacher, is it in the best interest of me? It may seem in the best interest of me because it is paying me enough amount of money to survive and sustain. But also, is it in sync with the values which I wanted for myself, right? Is it the thing which I always is it the thing which I always wanted to become? Or he wanted to become something else, but because he could not get through state services exam, we could not get through the IS exams, and therefore we end up settling for becoming a teacher instead of becoming an administrative officer somewhere in some state or at the level of center, right? And the second part is about emotional regulation, right? We all are emotional beings, right? Whenever we see something around us, it also affects our emotional being. Sometimes we get angry, sometimes we get sad, sometimes we become happy, right? So the idea is basically many of the emotions may not be as per the demands of the time or the context in which we are in, right? Many of the times, right, whatever emotions we are experiencing, it may not be the best emotion at the point of time, right? Is it fine? Because many times we all, as a teacher, we all feel that, especially in the time of online online classes, many of the students are not coming for the classes. Many of the students are not participating enough as we wanted them to participate. But and we also feel angry and we also feel very sad. We also feel frustrated, right? But is it in the best interest of all of us to express our anger, express our frustrations, express our fear, anxiety to our students, right? Because if we show that we are also getting anxious, we are also getting nervous, we are also getting frustrated, the students will become more frustrated, they will become more angry, and they will become more anxious, right? So this is the crux of emotional self-regulation. We might be experiencing many kind of emotions, right? But we have to see people around us. We have to see what others are experiencing, what others might be undergoing in that particular time. Even if we're angry, even if we're very happy, so then we have to examine things around us and say, is it okay to express my anger? Is it okay to express my happiness? Is it okay to express my fear, right? Things like that, right? So it is about behavior, right? To what extent our behavior is in the best interest of us in the on a long-term basis and not on a short-term basis, and to what extent those behavior is in sync, right? Is in consonance with our values, our deepest value, our deep values about our life, right? Uh, so basically, so it is about two things, right? Able to manage our behavior, and we have to see two things, right? Is it in our best interest? And number two, is it in sync with our values? Values, which we values is the a state which we always wanted to be, right? So we all are living in a particular state, right? But we all would have certain ideas about ourselves, certain visions about ourselves, certain expectations about ourselves, right? And those are related to the ideas of values, right? Some of you, some of you, I, some of you might wanted to become a, a good father, a good mother, right? A good spouse, a good teacher, a good sports person, right? A good footballer, a good dancer, a good athlete, right? To what extent, basically, so to what extent our behavior, right, will lead us to achieving our cherished, desired values which we wanted from our life. This is the first part, right? And the second part is basically to what extent we have control or to what extent we can influence our have we have some influence over our own emotions, right? So we all experience some emotions because the emotional stimulus is coming from the outside world, people around us, events around us, right? And all these events, all these people around us, right? They would be they would be they would create some kind of emotional state in us, right? If somebody has shouted at you, right? If somebody has bumped into your car, right? If somebody has hit you from the back on your bike and because of which you have fell down, right? So again, basically, so meaning by basically, so we all feel anger, right? We all feel angry, right? We all feel afraid also. we might have injured some part of our body, right? Then, and we have to also see the things around us, people around us, objects around us, and then we have to manage, we have to control, and we have to influence, have some influence over our emotion, right? And if we are able to manage all this, then we can say that, oh, we have some control of our behavior, which is in consonance with our values, and we have been able to control some of our emotion, which is not very appropriate at the time, which is not appropriate with the context in which we all are in. It is not appropriate, it's not apt, because the things which is happening around us will not allow us to express in those manners. Is it fine so far, right? So this is the crux of self-regulation. It has two parts. One pertains to behavior and one pertains to emotion. Is it okay with all of you so far? Okay. Then, so there's a theory, right? It is called self-regulation theory, right? And it was given by somebody called Ibom Mister. I have also given the reference of the book, right? And it is already available on internet. Some part of this is available for internet. I have already, so whatever is there on the slide, I have used some of the things which are available on the internet, and the examples are my own examples. Some of the examples are from the books or the internet sources, but some of the examples are my own examples, so that we will be able to relate better, right? Okay, so it says that self-evolution theory outlines the process, right? One is related to behavior, one is related to emotion, right? And components involve when we decide what to think, feel, say, and act, right? So when we say when we say self-regulation theory or self-regulation mindset, so it is about the processes involved which will help us to take a decision, basically what to think, what to feel, and how to say or how to express yourself, right? How to communicate, and also how to act, how to behave, right? So the entire idea is basically, so it is particularly salient in the context of making healthy choice, right? When we have a strong desire to do opposite things, right? So whenever we have, so it's about making choice, right? So our instinct, our ego would tempt us to behave in some other manner, right? But we have been able to maintain some control over those things and then behave in the manner which is in sync with our deepest values, right? Which is in sync with the context in which we all are placed in. Is it fine? Is it fine, right? Because many times we feel, think, or to act, or to speak, right, in a manner, right, which may not be in sync with our deepest value, right? And after that event happens, we all regret, why did we behave in that manner, right? Why didn't I have been able to control myself in that particular 5 minutes or 2 minutes, right? In which, so if you see the examples of the accidents on the roads, right? So we have many examples of killings or accidents or abuse or right on the roads, right? So everything happens in that 5 minutes, in that 2 minutes, right? So then many of us end up integrating why we could not control ourselves, right? When somebody was behaving in a stupid manner, when somebody was behaving in the aggressive manner, when somebody was shouting at me, why did I also behave? Why did I also shout at me? Why did I also behave in a similar manner as he or she was behaving with me? Why could not I control myself, right? So this is the crux of the self-regulation theory, right? When there is a pressure, when there is demand from the environment to behave in some manner which is not in sync with our values, which is not in sync with the context in which we are in, right? Which is not in sync with our long-term goals of life, right? And then we decide to act in the opposite manner and have some control over life. So this is the crux, right? Is it fine, right? Because there's so many temptation from the outside world, right? Be it eating right, be it playing right, because most of you would be attending this workshop on your smartphone, on your laptop, or on your tabs, right? And when the internet is on, right, we always get some pop-up messages, right, from Amazon, from Myntra, from other apps, right? We are also getting some updates on our Instagram pages, right? So we all are getting temptations, right, from different sources around us, right? And we all feel to behave, right, the way it is there. But to what extent we have control over those things, right? If we are not attending classes seriously, then we might not get good marks, right, in the test, which will be followed by the session, right? And there will be test after every session. I don't know what is the practice over here, right? And if some of you haven't done well, maybe there will be problem with your certificate, right? So it will have some problem with your promotion and with your grades, whatever, right? So it's about having control over your temptations, right? Which is coming from the people, which is coming from the object, which is coming from the devices, especially nowadays, right? Right. What extent we have control over those things, and then we act, think, feel, speak, which is appropriate, which is in sync, which is in accordance with our interests, which is a long-term interest, right? And also which is also in sync with the values which I have, right? Which we have, right? Okay. So it has four components, right? As said by the theories, right? So first is about standards of desirable behavior, right? Right. So it is first component. Right? Second is to what extent we have motivation to meet those standards. What is about standards, right? What we expect from our life, right? What we are expecting from our life. What is our standard of our behavior, right? Whether those standards are in sync with our interests, long-term interests, or whether those standards of us are with the in sync with the values which we have in our life, right? And then to what extent we are motivated enough to pursue or to follow or to meet those standards, right? And then also to what extent we are able to control, to what extent we are able to monitor, right? We are able to check, right? To what extent our progress is okay, whether we are behind, we are ahead, right? We are not doing well, right? The way we wanted to perform, right? And then make some necessary corrections. And finally, to what extent we have control or our willpower. Willpower, we all know that what we have control of our instincts, of our temptations, so that we are able to achieve our goals in life, right? So it has four components, right? First is about standards of behavior.
So I have a question here.
Yeah.
So the standards, what do you understand mean by that one? Standards refers to our position in our professional life. Does it mean that?
Standards mean basically, so I've also added with, right? So our standards of behavior must be in accordance with the interest, with the long-term interest of ours, right? If you want to become a good teacher, right? Then we must study hard. Then we must practice to speak well, right? Then we must able to control our emotions, right? So this is the standard of behavior, right? So it is connected with the goals in life. If we want to, if we don't want to, if we don't want to get COVID, if we don't want to get infected by COVID third wave, right? So our standard of behavior will be to get ourselves vaccinated as soon as possible. Is it fine? If we don't want to get cancer, right? Then to what extent we have control of not smoking? To what extent we have control of not tobaccos, right? So standard of behaviors could be many things, right? Could be anything which is in sync with your values, deep values, right? And it is in your own interest, long-term interest, right? We all feel tempted to smoke, right? We all feel tempted to use cell phones, right? Even in the middle of the night, right? Is that okay with us, right? Because if we are using cell phone in the middle of the night, then we won't be able to sleep well. Then we will feel a headache in the morning. We will feel dizziness in the morning. We won't be able to do the household chores, right? So there will be some kind of conflict in the family with the spouse, with the children, and things like that, right? So the standard of our behavior basically. So it must be in sync with our long-term interest, and it must be in accordance what we expect from our life, right? What is our values in life, right? If
Okay.
our cherished value is to be a kind mother, right? Then despite the temptation of updates on our smartphone, is Facebook, whatever, etc., right? But we won't be a very full night, right? Because we have to get up in the morning, we have to get our kids ready, right? We have to prepare the breakfast, we have to send them to school, right? We have to engage in household activities, right? Things like that, right? Is it okay? Have I answered the query?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Then we have the second part is motivation to meet standards, right? Do we have enough motivation, right? So whenever we see any pop-up, right, messages on our smartphone, right, we all get tempted, right? Let's see what is the update, right? What pictures have been images, what blogs have been there, what is the latest sales offer on Amazon or Myntra or Flipkart, whatever, right? So do we have enough motivation to sustain our behavior, right? Despite all the temptation around us, and then also basically, are we able to monitor our behavior, right? To what extent? If by mistake, if we remain awake very late
Professor,
one night,
excuse me.
right?
Will you
And
please, Professor, will you please excuse me? Will you please go to the second slide? Next slide, please.
seconds I have to go, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the next slide, please. Yeah,
Next one.
yeah, yes. Because for the last 15 minutes, I have been seeing the single slide. So that's why we need to change. Yeah.
No, but so basically I am not explaining the things, right? So
Yes, sir. Yeah.
so I'm the theory is the crux of this the entire idea, right? So
Yes, sir.
for the next half an hour, we will be speaking only around these 4 points, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, please proceed, sir.
So okay, thank you. So is it fine, right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Okay, fine. So basically, so the third point is to what extent we are able to what extent we are monitoring our things, right? If something goes wrong, right? If one day, if we could not get up early in the morning, right? How it has affected our life on that particular day, right? Right? Was there some kind of conflict with the spouse? Was there some kind of stress all around? Could you perform in the classroom? Could you perform with your kids, right? Could you help them with their homework? Things like that, right? So meaning by we have to keep a track, keep a tab, right? How we are doing, right? And if something goes wrong, right? What extent we are able to make some kind of corrections, right? So that we are able to achieve our goals. And finally, it's about willpower, right? So humans have the agency. We all believe that we have agency or to have willpower to have some kind of control over our life, right? So these are the four components, right, which is there in all kind of self-regulation, right? It's about behavior, it's about motivation, it's about monitoring, right? How much we are progressing, right? Are we going the way where we wanted to go, right? And finally, to what extent we have the willpower. So these are the four core concepts, four components of self-regulation mindset. Is it fine? Okay. Now. Okay. So this is the example, right? Which I did, right? So we have seen basically so there are four components of self-regulation mindset, right? One is the behavior, one is the motivation, third is about monitoring, and fourth is about willpower, right? Okay. Now we all are in the we all are living in the era of COVID-19, right? So I don't know from where you all are from, right? But we all have experienced some part of COVID, right? Phase one, phase two, right? We have seen people around us, right, struggling and dying, things like that, right? So I am not into that, right? So what I'm saying is that basically, so we all have been hearing since 2020, right, March 2020, right, that we have to engage in some kind of preventive health behavior, right? So this is our behavior, right? Preventive health behavior is basically now also vaccines, right? Because if we take vaccines, so it will protect us from getting COVID-19. Uh, Before vaccines, so we were all advised to maintain social distancing, physical distancing. We all have been advised to wear masks. We mm, whenever we're outdoor, right? And we all have been encouraged to wash our hands or sanitize whenever it's for the water, right? So we all have experienced this thing in our life, right? In the past March 2020, so it's August, right? So it is almost 15 months, right? So we all have been advised by the government agencies, world agencies, right? Our family, friends, right? Our religious leader, our community leaders, our family heads, our 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 parents, our elders in the family, right? They have advised us to maintain social distancing. They have always encouraged us to use masks whenever we are going out, and then we have been encouraged to wash our hands or sanitize our hand, right? And also now in the past few months, we have also been encouraged to take vaccines, right? So this is the behavior, right? Desired behavior. Right? Preventive health behavior is the desired behavior, right? Now we will use this example, right, and try to understand the idea of self-solution theory. Is it okay? Is it okay with all of you, right? So if you want to give me some other examples, so we can discuss other examples as well. But all these exercises, all these behavioral practices concern all of us. Therefore, I chose a common topic, common example, right? Which so that we all are able to connect with this example, right? Okay. So now the first question, right? So it is from the second slide, right? So in all this, right, what is our values? What is the deep values? And why all these behaviors, right, will have will have some impact, long-term interest for us, right? Anybody would like to comment on this, right? What will be our deep values if we are engaging in these kind of behaviors, health behaviors?
Self-control.
Self-control, right? Okay, good. One thing. What is more?
Self-confidence.
Self. It will also lead to self-confidence. Good. What else? Okay. Now tell me, basically, right? Can we think
Willpower.
of pardon? Okay. Can we think of the opposite? If we are not wearing masks, if we are not maintaining social distancing, right, and if we are not washing our hands or sanitize our hands, right, then what will happen? Or if we are not getting ourselves vaccines, what will happen? What will happen? Is it
If
in
our
that
immune system is weak, we would be attacked.
right? So meaning by so is it in our interest how to follow all these practices?
Yeah, it's obviously in our interest.
Of course, so it is in
Yeah.
interest, right? And we all want to live happy. We all want to live healthy,
Healthy.
right? We all want to live healthy, right?
Mm.
We don't want to go to hospital with our family and friends, right? And then seeing them dying, right? Right. So this is this is our deep value, no? Basically, we all want to remain healthy. We all want to remain together as a family, right? We all want our parents. We all want our kids. We all want our spouse not to suffer in the hospital, right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is a common value, right? So and it is a very deep value, right? Even we have some fight with our spouse, right? Even if we scold our kids, right? But deep down, we all love them, right? We all are concerned about them, no?
Yes, sir.
In every family we have some conflict with the spouse, right? In every family we have some kind of argument, right? Interpersonal conflict with our kids, with our in-laws, right? Whatever, right? But that is only for the short-term basis, right? At the end, we all want them to be healthy. We all them want to live a peaceful life, right? We all them want to visit hospital, right? Especially at a time when hospital doesn't have the enough infrastructure, right? Right. So that is example, no, basically, right? So in this, so therefore, I've written the question, right? What is our deepest value, right? Deepest value is love, affection, care of our family members and friends, right? And it is our long-term interest, right? If somebody is infected in the family, then we all have the chances of being infected, right? So the family will become very bad, right? Even you might have heard many stories, right? If there has been some death in the families, right? And because it was a COVID death, many of the people were not involved in the last rites of the immediate family members, right? Right. So meaning by, although we all want to be with our family members when they are dying, right? But in the COVID time, we could not, right? And we all felt very sad. We all feel incomplete, right? And we could not believe that it is happening before our eyes. Yet we could not do anything, right? So therefore, in the best interest, in the long-term interest, and this is our deep value, to engage in all these kinds of behaviors. Is it fine, right? Okay. Now, so our desirable behavior is to engage, right? Is to follow all these behaviors, right? Okay. Now the second part, right? So what will be the motivation for this? So motivation will be to say word. Motivation we will be financial one also, right? Because during COVID time, hospitals were not available, right? Oxygens were not available in parts of India, right? And sometimes it also became very costly, right? So even to perform the last rites, right? And therefore, it is about love, it is about care, it is about money, it's about emotional bonding, everything, right? Because of which we all should follow, or we all are following all this kind of behavior. Is it fine? This is the idea of motivation. Is it okay? Then, then if we are not following, right, then we're also supposed to monitor our behavior, right? Are we taking enough precautions, right? Are we wearing masks when we are going out all the time? Are we Have we made it a habit to wash our hands whenever we are coming from outside? Are we always carrying a hand sanitizer whenever we are out, right? Are are we maintaining a physical distance of of 1 meter or half a meter, right, with others, right? Whenever we are communicating, we are interacting with those things, right? If you not, are you feeling bad, right? Right? If last time you missed or you forget to wear your mask, right? Did you feel bad when you went outside? Last time, if you could not carry your hands sanitizer in your purse, in your wallet, in your bag, right? In your in your in your in your bag, right? Did you feel bad about yourself? Did you think that perhaps I did something wrong? Perhaps I'm exposing myself to the virus. Perhaps I'm bringing those viruses back to my family. I'm exposing those viruses to my kids, with my elderly parents, with my spouse, etc., etc., etc. And therefore, and you promise to yourself, I will never behave in that manner. It was an aberration, it was an error, it was an exception. Because of some hurry, because of my absent-mindedness, I could not wear mask, I could not get a mask, right? I could not find the hand sanitizer, I was in a hurry. But next time, I will ensure that I will keep a hand sanitizer in my bag, I will have a extra mask in my bag, whatever, right? So basically, so the idea is basically we have to also monitor things, right? Are we following those things, right? Whenever we have we have not followed, right? We have deviated a bit, right? Are we feeling some kind of uneasiness, right? If we are feeling uneasiness, so it means that it is not in sync with our deep values, right? We always wanted to protect our families, right? But because if I'm not wearing mask and I've gone to the weekly sabzi market wearing some vegetables, right? And where I met many people, hundreds of people there selling vegetables, buying vegetables, right? Then I'm not only exposing myself, right? But I'm also bringing some of those viruses to my family, to my elderly parents, to my spouse, to my loving, innocent kids, right? And because those things are not in sync with my values, right? My value is to be my deep value is love, care, and affection towards my family members, right? And because one behavior of mine is not in sync with the deep values, then are we feeling some kind of fear? Are we feeling some kind of anxiety? Are we feeling bad? Are we feeling guilty? And therefore we promise to ourselves, and then we promise to ourselves, no, 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 I will not do it again. If this was a mistake, I will I will say sorry to my family and friends. Sorry, I couldn't behave the way I should have behaved. I'm sorry, I have exposed you to some virus, right? I will pray to God, right? Oh God, please excuse me, please forgive me, because of which I have exposed my family members to some viruses, COVID-19 viruses, because of a behavior of mine, which is not very responsible behavior. Is it fine? Is it okay with all of you? How does it work, right? How does the all these components work, right? And lastly, basically, do you have enough willpower? Oh, although I want to choose mask, but it is very sultry, it is very hot, right? I feel so much of heat, weather is not good, I have problem in breathing, right? Therefore, I will choose mask, right? Many of us have this kind of excuses, right? Why should I wear mask, right? When others are not wearing, right? My neighbors are not wearing mask, right? Nobody is wearing mask, right? Then why should I wear the mask? Is it okay? Do you have enough willpower, right? So I'm not concerned with others, right? It's about my family. It's because my concern is the love, care, and affection for my families, right? For my elderly parents, for our spouse, for our kids, right? For our siblings, right? I'm not concerned about what others are doing, right? This is not my problem. My values, my love, my care, my affection is for my own family. It's not about other families, no, basically. So it's about willpower, right? Basically, even if not others are following, even if others are not doing right, health appropriate behavior, right, or preventive health behavior, right, is it going so will I also behave in the similar manner, or I will have that value back in my mind? No, no, no. If somebody is behaving in a foolish manner, if somebody is not responsible, but I will be a responsible father, I will be a responsible husband, I will be a responsible son or daughter, and therefore, I will engage in all this kind of behavior, right? Despite the fact that others are not behaving. Is it fine? So these are the four components, right, of self-evaluating mindset or self-evaluating behavior, right? Is it fine? We have to think of behavior, we have to think of motivation, we have to think of monitoring whenever we have some path which is different, debating, right? And then also, do we have enough willpower to remain engaged in those kind of activities and tasks? Is there any question so far? Is it okay with all of you?
Okay. It's okay, sir.
Okay. Then we can go to the next slide, right? So we can talk, we can discuss, right? Okay. So self-regulation could be generic in general, right? Self-regulation could be specific also, right? In the field of health, the example which I gave that of health, right? In the field of clinical practice, in the field of sports, yeah, in the field of schools and education, right? So here's a theory, right? So this is another idea which is very generic in nature, right? And there's a person called Albert Bandura who has just died, right, last month, right? And if some of you have some background in psychology or education, right, then you might heard of his name, right? He just died last month, right? Using Albert Bandura, right? So basically, so the same thing, right, teacher? Self. So he's saying that I've already explained some part of it. So just for the sake of repeating, we say that self-regulation is a continuously active process, right? It is not one-time process. The process, right, where we have to monitor our behavior, right? The influence it has in our own behavior and the consequences, judge our behavior in relation to our personal standards or the deep values, right? React to our behavior, right? And basically, so the core idea is basically, so last part, right, is about human agency. Are you aware of this term, human agency? How many of you are you know about the idea of human agency? What is the meaning of human agency? Do you have sorry, I said okay. Just give me something. Sorry. Pause. Okay. Oh, I have to share the screen. Sorry. Just. Okay. Okay. So can do you know the meaning of human agency? Is there any person who is aware of the idea of human agency? What is human agency?
So my name is Sukanya. I think it's about making choices.
Pardon?
It's about making choices.
I'm not able to hear you, so I can just explain the idea of human agency, right?
Okay.
So basically, human agency is about control over our own life, right? We are the master of our own life, right? So the things, whatever we do in our life, whatever ideas we have in our life, whatever course we take in our life, and whatever we achieve in our life, it is because of me. It is because of me, right? I am whole soul responsible for whatever good or bad I achieve in my life. So this is the idea of human agency, right? The idea of human agency is that I have full control of our own life, right? So this applies to self-regulation, right? That the behavior is mine, the motivation is mine, the monitoring of behavior is mine, and also the willpower is mine, right? So there is something called self-efficacy, right? How much we have control in our own ability to think of certain actions, right? Certain plan, certain resources, and then ability to come up with a.
So does it include self-consciousness?
Self-consciousness will come, right? So it is. So basically, self-consciousness. When we talk about emotional well-being, when we talk about emotional regulation, right? So there's something we are calling about self-awareness. In emotional regulation, right? So in psychology, basically we have divided, right? Although it is not proper to divide, but we have divided thinking and emotion differently, right? So when you say consciousness, so we are talking largely in terms of emotion, self-awareness component, right? How much we are aware of the things in our world, right? Are we experiencing some kind of emotion, right? Are we aware of the emotions? Things like that, right?
Are we thinking of others' reaction towards our activity?
Yes. That way, right? Meaning by if as a teacher, right? If I scolded some of my students of not behaving well in the class, right? If somebody has come not in the school uniform, right? Then if we have scolded, if we have asked why he or she is not in the school uniform, right? And we have scolded without knowing his or her position, because it might have rained the other day, right? And because of which the clothes have not been dried up enough, and therefore he or she is not wearing a school uniform, right? So, and then in that he or she might say something, and then when you feel bad, why didn't I ask him first? Why didn't I try to understand what he or she has undergone, right? Why I have made my own opinion without knowing what he or she has undergone, right?
Hmm.
Right?
Uh,
Because
yes.
last few days it has been raining very heavily in this part
Hmm.
of India.
Hmm.
In Delhi, it rained heavily, so we all have experienced heavy rain, because of which we have many fallen inside. So it might be possible that the school uniform of some of the kids might have got wet because of heavy rain and could not have dried up, right? So the idea is basically, uh, don't make any kind of impression about anybody,
Hmm.
don't judge anybody, give other person a chance to understand, explain, and then only make some opinion, right? So when we say basically, when we say self-efficacy, so the idea is basically, to what extent we have the ability or belief in our own abilities for what? Because we cannot do anything until we have the enough resources, physical resources, emotional resources, right? To mop up the resources, right? And then plan some action and ability to achieve our goals, right? So this is another way of looking at self-regulation, right? It's about a human agency, right? Because we are responsible for everything in our life, right? And therefore, our
Okay.
behavior, our motivation, our
Comes a lot.
monitoring, and our willpower should be, I should be held responsible for everything, right?
Hmm.
Is it fine? Is it
Yes, sir.
fine? Basically, we have to blame others, right?
Hmm.
So it says that because we, as a as adult human being, adult grown-up human being, we are responsible for everything which we achieve or we haven't achieved in our life, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So here, so now, so this is about generic idea, right? So I just said basically it can also be applied in case of education, right? Right? We all are educators, right? So basically, how to engage students, right? In our school activities, in our college activities, right? So there is a theorist. His name is Zimmerman, right? And he has discussed about the idea of self-directed learning. It is available on the internet, right? So you can find it. So it says that it has three steps. One is about planning, right? We are setting goals, right? Right. So it's about the student plan his or task, set goals, outlines strategies, right? And or creates schedule of the task, right? Then we have to monitor and then finally reflection, right? If all everything has gone well, then fine. If something has not gone that well, then is it time to again think, plan, and reflect what went wrong, right? Right, because we all do this in classroom, right? We have to plan our, we have help the students to plan his or task. We have to plan short-term goals and long-term goals, right? We have to help them to come up with certain strategies, right? So that they are able to achieve their goal, right? And then we can also help them come up with the schedule of the activities, right? Short-term schedule and the long-term schedule, right? And then we help them in monitoring what is the progress, if things are happening as per the way we have planned, and if everything goes wrong, if everything goes well, then finally the idea is to introspect, reflect, and then plan the things next time in a better way. Is it fine? So we all do all this, right? Okay. So we also can do this thing, right? In other areas of that, right? Sports we can do, health, right? Reducing weight, exercising, wearing mask, and not smoking, right? Right. How many of you have tried to quit smoking? How many of you are involved in weight losing exercises? How many of you are engaged in sports, right? And how many of you are in you or in some of your families are experiencing some kind of mental issues, and therefore you are seeing a therapist where you are undergoing some kind of mindfulness exercises, or there's another exercise which is called cognitive behavior therapy. I call this activity and mindfulness for your issues related to anxiety, depression, sports, right? And then reducing weight, right? In this lockdown, we all have put on some weight, right? Some have put on more, some have put on less, right? And some of you are exercising at home, some of you are exercising at gym. We all are wearing masks, right? Trying to wear masks, and many of us have tried to quit smoking and quit wine also, right? Alcohol also, right? Anybody would like to share the example of his or her or anybody? It is not mandatory, so this is your own choice, right? If you want to, you just share some of your experiences. So we are happy to share. We are happy to listen to experiences while you try to quit smoking, while you try to quit uh, alcohol, or you try to do exercise, you try to lose some weight, right? You try to dance, learn music, dance, try to learn some kind of sports, basketball, volleyball, right? Playing tennis, whatever, right? Anybody has tried any of these in the past 1 year or in the past?
Can I answer, sir?
Yeah, why not? Open to all, yeah.
Uh, Sir, I was smoking heavily 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And suddenly I thought that it is better to quit because it was affecting my health.
Mm.
So I shifted to writing books, means writing short stories, which helped me to leave this bad habit of smoking. That really helped me in my life, sir. I have written around 7-8 books till now.
Oh, wonderful, yeah.
Just I want to share that, sir.
Yeah. So basically, so here's the example, right? So
and I want to also share, sir, that it requires a lot of willpower to
yes, of course,
leave
of
this
course.
habit, because it is not easy to quit something which you have a habit for 15, 20 years, and suddenly if you want to leave, it becomes very difficult. But to divert, you have to have some habit which will help you to quit other things, other bad things, you can say.
Yes. Basically, so we can add, right? So here, so if you want to see everything in terms of the four steps, right?
Yes.
So what was the deepest value, right? Deepest value is about health, health of oneself, health of and the love, affection for the family members, right? And then there's a specific behavior, right? We have to quit smoking, right? And as shared, it wasn't easy, right? It required so much motivation, right? Many times he would have also failed, right? Many times he would have promised to himself, I will not smoke today more than 2 cigarettes, right? But the moment he is getting the aroma of the smoke, right? Then would have tempted to smoke, right? Many times he would have failed, many times he would have smoked, right? He would have smoked, right? But ultimately, right? And then finally, he might be he might be also experiencing some kind of guilt, some kind of frustration. Oh, today I missed. Today I could not follow my plan. Today I smoked 4 cigarettes, although I wanted to smoke only 2 cigarettes a day, right? Morning and before I go to sleep, right? And then also there is a strong willpower, right? And what one thing sir did, right, which is not there, right? The theory, right? And therefore all the theories are not complete, right? So there he come up with a plan, right? He has replaced goal, right? He replaced goal, right? And therefore we have something called which is called sublimation, right? So he has used his weakness, right, to transform into its strength and try to achieve something bigger in life, right? So the fifth goal would be basically, so the fifth part is basically, it becomes easier, right? When you translate, when you come up with certain other goals, when you come up with certain other goals, right? When you come up with certain other goals, which is totally opposite to that thing, right? So in psychology, we learn which is called opponent process theory, right? In psychology, we have something called opponent process theory. It means basically opponent process theory. It means basically two things which are opposite in nature, right, cannot exist together. It is called opponent process theory. It means that two things which are opposite, right? Smoking and writing a book, because he thought that smoking and writing a book are opposite to each other, and therefore, so when he used to write, so he used to get the same kind of excitement, same kind of thrill, same kind of relaxation when he used to smoke. Therefore, it would have been easier after some time to quit smoking. Sir, have I followed you well? Have I explained?
Yes,
well?
sir, absolutely right, sir. Absolutely.
Really wonderful.
Right,
Wonderful.
So many times we have to come up something which is opposite to each other, right? Opposite to other goal, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So many times when we create some goal which is to quite opposite to some other things, so we might get same kind of experiences, same kind of thrills, same kind of excitement, right? That way, right? Okay. So in a similar manner, right? When we practice, when we try to lose weight, right? Then again there is a struggle, right? Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't work well, right? Sometimes there is high motivation, sometimes there is no motivation, right? Then yeah, so it is not easy exercise. So I will discuss that thing later, right? Okay, so here's the point, right? As he was saying, so this is problem for all of us, right?
Can I ask a question, sir?
Hmm, please, please, sir.
Uh, Since you are discussing about self-regulation, so will it depend on your family background, sir?
So it will come here. So in this slide, I raised some of the questions, right?
Okay.
In this slide, right? So it is there. Okay, just wait for five minutes, 10 minutes. Hopefully, it will get it. Okay. So so I started right. Why it is not easy to practice self-regulation, right? We all want to quit smoking. We all want to lose weight. We all want to do exercise. We all want to study. We all want to write books, right? We all want to write research papers. We all want to become a good father, a good mother, a good spouse, right? A good friend, right? But why it is difficult, right? So the entire idea, right, is that our behavior should be in accordance with our deepest values, right? Mhm. So how many of we are actually aware of, right? Or from where we are getting all these deepest values, right? So if you followed the crimes against women, right? Many rape cases and gang rape cases, right? There were two uh, ill-famous, right, gang rape, right? One is happening in Delhi, and where, and one is happening in Mumbai, which is called Sheetal Mill gang rape case, right? So all the accused persons who were involved in this crime, they were coming from the poor, not so educated, broken family homes, and many of them would have seen their mothers, their sister being abused, being not respected by their parents, by their elder siblings, things like that, right? So in their deep psyche, in their deep self, they have never seen a woman being respected. They've always seen women being scolded, being abused, all kind of abuse, physical, sexual, all kind of abuse, right? Verbal abuse as well, right? So because in that, and because values, our deep values, it it will not develop in one day. It will develop in years, right? On the basis of experiences, as I was asking, right? On the basis of the experiences in your families, on the basis of the things which are happening around you, on the basis on the kind of friends you have, and also nowadays in the present context, on the kind of the different groups, social media groups on which you are actively engaged in. Okay? So what is right, what is wrong, right? Whether to respect women or not to respect a woman, right? Whether to engage in health behavior, wearing mask or not to wear mask, right? All these, right, are being influenced by the family experiences which you have, right? So please read the profile of those rapists, right? Then you might feel angry, but you'll also feel sad about those people because they haven't gone to school. They are from the very weak economic background. They haven't seen their mothers being respected. They've always seen their fathers coming home drunk, using abusive languages, hitting mothers, and whatnot. Right, right. So from where all these values will come? There was a case, right? So it was old case basically, right? So it has happened in one of the peripheral institutions of India, where there was a girl who threw acid on the face of one of his classmates because she was not responding to his advances. So he said that basically, in my life, nobody has said no to me. Nobody has said no to me anywhere in my life, right? How dare she could say no to my advances? And therefore, I could not bear it up, and therefore, I threw acid on her face, right? Values will come from the family, values will come from the education, values will come from the social class, values will come from the social media groups on which you are actively engaging. Is it fine? So many times, although we say that we have agency, we have control our own life, but many times we are always at the mercy of others, right? If our parents have not taught us how to respect women, if we have seen parents always drunk, if our parents seen always in gambling, always involved in anti-social acts, then we tend to behave in those things. Is it fine? Our values will not coming all of a sudden, right? Because the day we are born in the families, we are always with our parents, our father, mother, the kind of things which are being spoken between them, right? Love, abuse, care, scolding, right? Whatever we have seen, right? So that will help us develop our values, right? Is it fine? Then anyway, right? There has to be some standard desirable behavior, right? Whose behavior we are talking about? Sir, why did you quit smoking? It is because of the pressure from the family, friends, or it was your own call? It was your own calling.
It was my own calling, sir.
It was your own calling, right? But many times, also because many times, how many of you are snoring at night? How many of you are you're snoring at night and your spouse has problem with you? Do you snore at night? Do you snore at night?
No, sir.
No, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm addressing to all of you, right? Because many times we take medication for snoring because our spouse is not happy, and she would say that, or he would say that, yeah, so we'll seek a divorce in the court of law because you're snoring and I'm not able to sleep, right? Many times the behavior is not our own, right? Many times we study well because our parents want us to study well, right? Many times we become doctors because our parents were doctors. Many times we become politicians because our parents were politicians. Many times we become film actors, actress because our parents were actors, actresses, right? Because we have seen in our families, right? So sometimes this is our own view, right? Uh, do we have enough motivation? It's always a tough question, right? Sometimes it is up, sometimes it is go, sometimes it is always we are struggling with those kind of things, right? And then how to monitor the. Actually, one thing basically, when you talk about emotional self-regulation, basically in the Indian families, we don't teach our kids how to manage their emotions. In Indian families, all the communication, all the interaction, all the discussion is about academics, is about grades, is about marks, is about homework. It's not about how the child is experiencing in terms of emotional world, right? Best of the Indian institutes, IITs, IIMs, AIMS, medical colleges, right? We have seen many cases of death, many cases of suicide because kids haven't learned to manage emotions, right? In the Indian families, people are not talking about their emotion. How are you feeling today? Are you okay? Why are you looking sad? No. Do you have class today? Yes, I have class. Then why are you playing games? How much marks have you got? 70%. How much marks have been got by your friends? 80%. Then why you got so less marks, right? So in Indian families, or largely in the Asian families, right, we hardly train our kids to manage emotions, right? And when they experience some kind of bad emotion, right, because many of the participants would be human here, right? Many times they don't report if teasing to their parents because they are scared of telling them, because eventually they will be blamed. आप तुमने ही कुछ किया होगा, right? Many times in Indian families or Asian families, if teasings are not being reported, right, simply because of being ridiculed, because of being blamed, because of being many things, right? So in families, emotion regulation is a very tough task, right? And finally, do we have enough willpower? Internal strength, right? So I've eaten a point here, right? Especially in an era of social media, smartphone, or smartphone interruptions, right? How many pop-ups you have seen in the past 1 hour? If your smartphones are on, right, then you might have already seen some of the pop-ups, some of the interactions, some of the messages, right? Some of the memes, right, about me and the earlier faculty, about his entire course, right? Right. Is it fine? So many time, it's not possible to maintain willpower, especially in the era of smartphones, especially in the era of social media, because right, because many of you might be occupied with some of the images, some of the things, some of the text, some of the memes, right, some of the jokes, some of the family stories, right, things like that, right, and therefore willpower will be affected because of this, because we are not actually emotionally here. Okay, and there's one thing which is called ego depletion, right, which says that basically because because there is so much to control, right, because there is so much pressure on our ego, on ourselves to ward off the temptation, right? This is lunchtime and you're being at home, right? Some good food is being cooked in your kitchen, and you can experience that aroma, right, of rice or vegetables or meat, whatever, right? And therefore, how to control, right? How to ward off those temptation, right? Many of you will be feeling the urge to smoke, right? And anyway, whatever. So I'm just trying to say that basically there is too much pressure on our ego, on ourselves to control those temptations, and many times we are unable to do it. What should have I done? There was so much happening, so I could not control myself, and because of which I slapped him. Okay, I've used abusive language, right? So there are many ifs and buts, right, in self-regulation theories, right? And finally, ego depletion, because we have to ward off many temptations, emotion to temptation related to food, temptation related to social media, temptation related to many other things, right, in life, right? And because of which we we will not have control our own motivations, our own hunting exercises, our own willpower. Okay. Can it be developed? Yes, it can be developed. It can easily be developed. Right? So I'm sharing, right? So I'm not talking about how much time I have left, basically. How much time I have now? Some 15 minutes, right? So I'm sharing this with you, right? So this is the self-regulation exercises, right? And this is for adolescents, right? So we have self-regulation exercises for people of all age groups, right? So this is for adolescents. It is there on the internet site, right? And then finally, basically, so we consider basically. So our task become very important, right? Our role becomes very important, right? If I am watching, I am pressing my cell phone while doing my own work, right? Then my kids will also do that, right? If I'm having my lunch or dinner with the TV on, then my kids will also do that, right? If I'm using, if I'm not kind to the strangers If I'm not kind to the other people around us, then my child will also learn to behave in that manner, right? So it is largely about parents, is it largely about teachers, right? Than being about kids or adolescents. We are the first teachers, we are the best teachers, and we are also the worst teachers. So it is all about us. It's not about kids. It's not about, and it's not about kids. It's largely about us, right? The way we have behaved, the way we have carried ourselves, the way we have presented ourselves, the way we have maintained self-regulation, right? If we ask our kids to get up at 5:30, then are we getting up at 5:30? If I ask our kids to exercise, are we doing enough exercises, right? Are we, if we're telling our kids how to smoke, then are we smoking or not smoking, right? If we're telling our kids to be kind to others, then are we showing those behaviors orders, right? So it's largely about us basically. Although we have willpower, although we have everything, although we have control, right? But the fact remains basically they will learn because all these values, right, the deep values will be learned from us. So if we want our kids to develop being more empathic, being more kind, being more task oriented, being more not being not using cell phone, smartphone while studying, while having the meals, then we have to change ourselves, right? It's about us because we so as a parents we are responsible for developing their values, right? And if we are not behaving in a positive manner, good manner, nice manner, in a self-regulated manner, right? So I'm using this word in the heading, right? If we are not maintain self-regulation in life, right, then our children will also not learn. They will have difficulty in maintaining self-regulation, right? Is it okay? Is it okay? So now, okay. So the first part is almost done, right? So
Can I share something, sir?
yeah, sure, please, yeah.
You're talking about role of parents. I wish to tell you that if your father says that you get up in the morning at 5:30, I will not be able to do unless my mind works on that
Of
and
course.
it becomes an alarm itself.
Yes, of course.
You don't have to put an alarm. My
Yes, of course.
mind should get convinced and the conflict situation should not be there. Then only I will get up.
Of course.
And many times what happens is that when we start waking up our son for 3-4 days, we think that it becomes a habit, but many times it doesn't happen.
No. So because habit formation takes years to, it will not
Yes,
happen.
absolutely right, absolutely right. And
It will
what
not
we think that it should happen within 2-3 days, but habits are formed with many months takes place. Sometimes it is that you don't
no.
get a habit.
So you can take the examples of the seven Olympic winners, right? You can see
Yes,
that
sir.
their life, right? They practiced for years, right? 5 years,
Yes,
6
sir.
years, without any support, right? Without any support, right, from anybody. Many of them belong to very small families or not very well-off families, right? They have to take hitches from the truck drivers to get to the training academy, right? But all this they stop them, right? Habit formation is not easy. Self
Sir,
regulated.
yes, sir. Sir, I just
Yes,
wanted to share one thing
yeah,
that it was a habit for my son to wake up early. But I don't know whether it was a habit or me forcing him to develop a habit. But no sooner he has gone to his college, whereas after, in fact, in class 11 only, he had changed his system, like waking up late and in the morning, very late, in fact, staying up late at night and studying, of course. So then, was that means that was a forced habit or naturally it has brought about a change? What is it, sir?
listen. So meaning by because so it means that those particular habits it wasn't in sync with the the values which he was developing, right? Because he was thinking that he will be staying with you for some years, right? And once he will away, he will behave the manner he wanted to behave, right? And this is what is happening, right? So
Mm.
that thing has to come from inside, right? In the sense that first is
Yeah.
about values, no, basically. It's about values, right? So our behavior is our specific behavior will manifest in terms of. So I've always said that it's not about short term. It is always about long term, right? So what is good for us in the long term, no? It's not about short term. Short term, it's okay. We all take some chances, right?
But
Short
till
term,
16 years, it was okay. Waking up early in the morning, sleeping early at night. But after that, sir, this change has come. That was a surprise for me. That how could a habit change?
so it means that he was behaving because of we all basically, right? He didn't internalize this enough, right? That
Hmm.
waking up is something good, right? Sleeping early is something good, right? So if you sleep early, right? So we can wake up in the early hours and we can do our homework and we can do our studies, right? There's no point in 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 in, in remaining awake very late and then getting up late, right?
Hmm.
Meaning by we could not inculcate that deep values that
Maybe
it,
that.
it is good for us in the long
Hmm.
term, right? We're
Yeah.
just trying to avoid any kind of conflict with you. That's it.
That is what.
It is just
Yeah.
some kind of conflict, right? He didn't want to have some kind of conflict or some kind of
That
nagging,
was,
some kind of scolding, right? Therefore, he was behaving that manner.
so his biological clock, that means is different from mine.
Yeah,
That
yeah, of
is.
course, of course, of course, of course. So we have lived our whole life, right? So we have seen different things, and they are in different worlds, right? So therefore they have different values, right? We used to save money, right?
Hmm.
Now the kids they don't save money.
Exactly. Very true.
Yeah, we used to save money for the we used to always say that, right? Okay,
Hmm.
we should save for the bad days, right? The time will not remain same, right? But they are different values, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, because if the time is so uncertain, then why to wait? Then why to waste the time, which is nice one, which is good one,
Hmm.
right? Right? So we used to live in future. They used to live in present. It's all about values,
Hmm.
no? And the values are
Yeah.
coming from parents. Values are coming from social media. Values are coming from different sources, man. So it is much more challenging now. It's much more challenging as compared to our era, right? Right? Where there was no internet. Yeah, it was slow. I know it was very slow, right? We used to struggle for everything, right? But at least there was conflict of other kind, but this conflict wasn't there, right? So every era, every generation has their own kind of conflicts, their own kinds of ups and downs, right? So this is the kind of world in which we have. So we should not also blame them, right? Right? Because they are much more exposed, they are much more informed, they can they have much more power, right, as compared to us. No? Why to blame them, right? Why to curse them, right?
They have their own standpoint nowadays. That is also thing.
Yeah, so because they are a product of a different time as compared to
Hmm.
our time, right? So
Yeah.
they have their
True.
own they have their own values, no, basically.
Hmm.
But whenever we try to judge them with our own values, right, then there's a conflict. So we should be
Hmm.
careful, trying not to use our own parameters or our own values to judge them. It will lead to conflict,
Yeah. Very
and
true.
and it will take them away from us, right? We will always feel that our parents are not understanding our perspective.
Very true. Very true.
Okay, so ma'am, so they will always say that our parents are very uh, they have always problem with us, right? They are not supporting, they are not understanding our
Hmm.
perspective, right?
Hmm.
There will be a gap between you and them, right?
Yeah.
So never judge them, never evaluate them, right? You have to understand their perspective, man.
Hmm.
Okay, okay. Now, if the
Yes.
steps the devolution part is over, right? So we have some time. How so? At what time I have to close? At 1:30.
Yes, sir, please complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please complete, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So just give me 2 minutes. So complete. Okay. So last part is about effective communication. Basically, these two are should have been clubbed. Okay.
Yes, sir, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Next time when we organize, so please on club, because these two are been. It is not possible to complete them in this time. Okay, ma'am. So next time, please do it separately. Anyway, so it is about so the next part is about how to communicate effectively, right? So there's something called assertive communication, right? So I will share some of the points and then we'll close, right? So, so communication could be of three kinds, right? One is called aggressive, one is called passive, one is called effective, right? When we say aggressive, so the communicator has all the power. It is one-way communication, right? He or she is being in authority position, and he or she is not listening to others. He or she is trying to impose his own ideas. So this is kind of aggressive communication, right? And the opposite is passive communication, where the speaker heart and mind is not there, right? He or she is feeling that others are not following him or her, right? And then he or she felt that he is not understood well, and then he or she would feel ejected, and feel bad, right? And then we have something called effective communication, where we have both the things, right? Where so it is a kind of two-way communication, right? Where the communicator has the power, but at the same time he or she is allowing others to express their ideas, right? And ability to listen, ability to understand, ability to comprehend others' perspective as well. So how to practice, right? So I'll close it, right? Say no more often, right? Many times we say yes for many things which we should have said no easily, right? Because it's not possible to please everybody, because after all we are responsible for our own life. So if you don't want to do anything, just say no, right? Just say no. It only possible this time, ma'am. It only possible, sir, this time, because I'm occupied. I'm afraid that I will not be able to use. I will not be able to spare enough time. But at the same time, we should be mindful of the tone, right? The tone should not be very aggressive. It should be kind. It should be firm, but not aggressive, right? You understand, right? There's a difference between being firm and being aggressive, right? Whatever I'm saying, I'm fully convinced that I will not do, but I will be mindful of my own words, right? I will not use any evasive language. I will not show any kind of tantrum. I will not show any kind of aggressive gesture, right? And then, if there is some kind of 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 not having agreement, then please allow others to speak up, spare some more time, try to discuss, try to share, try to communicate to find a solution which is largely accepted by all, and also basically must be able to understand the non-verbal communication, right? Whether the audience is getting impatient, as most of you might be getting impatient now, right? If you are becoming restless, right? If if you are feeling that the audience or the participants are not listening, right? If they are feeling tired, if they are not showing any interest, please stop, right? And therefore, stop, right? And then finally, be present, right? So whatever you talk, always talk in the terms of the present time only, right? Don't bring past events, past accidents, past experiences, unless until it is absolutely necessary. If you are bringing past stories, then it will result in a headlock. The communication will not happen, right? So I think I should close right on this moment, because you all must be getting very tired, exhausted, must be hungry. So you all are here for the 3 hours. So I think I should close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was very wonderful.
From my
Thank
side,
you.
it is done, right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful lectures.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Right?
So I will just
so
take
much,
a
sir.
minute
Thank you.
to speak on about assertive communication. The point is why I have combined the two major parts,
Okay.
self-mindset and assertive communication is, most of you were wondering how come my son is not able to wake up in the early morning. What is wrong in that? Just think on what is wrong, because we have a habit thinking on that getting up early in the morning is good. For them, they feel that when I am able to finish all my work in the evening, what is wrong that I can sleep in the early morning too? Okay, that is the perception. That is where the perception and communication is related. We have to think on what sort of perception our mindset, our physics is helping us. It is not only our physics, it is not only our behavioral tone, behavioral soft skills, rather environment. Okay, so the sort of environment what we have got, that also gives an impact on your mindset, on anybody's mindset, whether we are young people or elder people, whoever the person may be, we have our different perception. The different perceptions will lead to our assertive communication. The point is, you have to think on what I need to do and how I can fulfill. That will go for your cognitive ability as well as your soft skills. When both of the things are matching and your social and environmental thing is also helping you in the right way, then time is not a factor. Time and space you can conquer. You can conquer your time and space and see to your children, because most of you are thinking about your children right now. So then the point you have to take from here is, so think on what they are doing by this proper time, by this proper minute. Okay, if what you do for 1 hour and the child is able to do it within 10 minutes, so he has got a leisure of 15 minutes. But again, that mindset has to be regulated to see how far even that 50 minutes can also be done for extra work. Okay, that is where we do things differently. How we manage time and how we manage our environment, our parental setup, as well as ourselves. That is where this whole topic is meant to be, right? So again, thank you so much. For all the participants here, I'm not really giving any feedback sessions, feedback for each and every session, okay? So I just want all the sessions to be conducted for the topic and the theme and for your interaction only. So I will not be disturbing you for writing attendance or submitting attendance or again for feedbacks or other things, okay? It is your time to listen and understand and to interact. So only on the particular day of Friday evening, probably on test and feedback session we have got, on that particular day, we will be having a feedback exclusively on every resource persons as well as about the FDP too. Okay, so this is how attendance is compulsory as such. You have been noted that it is recorded automatically. So no need to worry about, only your presence and your complete consciousness on FDP is highly wanted. Thank you all. So again, we will be meeting you by 2:30. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, sir. Thank you so much again, sir. Thank you all.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Bye bye.
Fine. With this, let me end the session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.